ahead.
So that's the first thing, Hotjar. And I'm seeing in the comments here, already tuned my manager into Hotjar. Phenomenal. That is a huge first step. So then you formulate your thesis, and then you do this. Okay. And by the way, I talk about this in a checklist that we're giving away for free, and we'll tell you how to get that later on in the segment here. But this brings me to a huge point that we talk about in this checklist, which is stop making multiple changes at the same time. If you change your entire website because you have not pinpointed, let's even go a little more granular. If you change the whole homepage layout on your site, or maybe you have a landing page, maybe you change the whole thing without clarity about why you think it was working or not working, guess what? Changing the whole thing, all elements of that page, all the words, all the links, that is going to make it even worse. You will have no clue what actually was contributing to it working or not working. So, Hotjar, thesis, stop making multiple changes. Change one thing. My thesis is, from my observation, that red buttons do not resonate with my local audience. I believe that if I change that to blue, we will see an increase.
Oh, wait a second. Just the color of the button makes a difference?
Oh my gosh. You would not believe how we've observed a simple button change, a simple color change, a simple placement change. But I'll tell you something, Jim, when we make these changes for our client partners, they understand, because we have a relationship of trust, they understand that we will make that one change and let it sit. We need to give these things enough time. In this industry, it's crazy. We move in these 30-day cycles. We don't give things enough time to actually, with enough clarity or certainty.
I have seen FlexDealer websites. I have seen the artwork that you build.
Right.
And I have also seen some of the major website builders in the US that spend a whole lot of time with photographs that don't work. I mean, if just as a layman, I know that the upper right hand of the screen is the hot real estate on a website. The upper right part of the screen is your best. Whatever sells the best needs to be there.
Totally. And you need to have your message align with your audience. Now, I get it. There's going to be an OEM program or a co-op program or an incentive that comes down, and it's going to be one of the national or regional incentives. But if we're really being honest, the regional incentive that we're trying to use to convert people is just a piggyback of the national incentive. 0.9% APR financing, blah, blah, blah. No payments for 84, whatever it is, 90 days and this and this and this. But as a local business, okay, let's put us in the place of this local dealership. As a local business, even though that is the case, it is my duty, my responsibility as a marketing manager, as a revenue team member, to have a finger on the pulse in my market. I need to understand what drives the economy in my market. I'm in Alberta. If it wasn't for the snow, this is Texas of the North. Cattle, farming, oil. I need to know what drives my market. I can't look at an OEM report that says I need to sell more Toyota Corollas in oil country and farm country. Dude, ain't nobody driving a Corolla here. They're picking up trucks. And so I need to make sure that the messaging of my hot real estate, as you say, reflects the interests, the vibe of the community in which I reside. So I don't know. Can we do screen share on this?
No, I haven't got screen share. No,
okay. Well, you can go check out an example, Integrity Subaru. In fact, maybe I can put this in a comment somewhere. Integrity Subaru. Now, this is one of our clients, full transparency. But what you'll see when you go to Integrity Subaru's website is not the drone footage and the movement. And I love the drone footage. It's like saving, HVAC repair technicians thousands of dollars because they don't have to go and buy their own drones to, look at the AC units on the top of the building. You go to integritysubaru.ca because they're in Canada. What you see is is a hyper localized message for the part of the planet that they live in. Subarus are meant for life in BC. They live in a off-road, mountain, outdoor region. Well, what does the HVAC system drone footage of your building have to do with the people in that market? Zero. So stop showing it off. Your ego, people don't care about your ego.
Okay, a lot of websites, and we are gladiators, we are cowboys. I got it on the screen.
Yeah.
I got it on the screen there. See it?
I don't see it, but I do see the address. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I've got that there. So if anybody wants, I hate to export them off the broadcast.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, I see so much ego. We're gladiators, we're cowboys. You know, me personally, I'm a show off, and a lot of good car people are. So the websites tend to reflect that.
That's right.
We want to brag about who we are, how many years we've been in business, and people are probably not caring about that nearly as much.
No, what does it have to do with them?
You remember Cal Worthington? Do you remember Cal Worthington? Have you ever looked at Cal Worthington in California?
Sounds familiar, but I wouldn't say conclusively.
Cal Worthington was the showman, the P.T. Barnum of television advertising.
Right.
He was absolutely famous, and one of his competitors always had a TV commercial where he was sitting by the fireplace with his dog Spot.
Okay.
So Cal Worthington started doing commercials with his dog Spot. His dog Spot would be an elephant or a crocodile or an ostrich, and he always had some weird animal that was his dog Spot. And he got to be really famous. I was fortunate enough to have met him in the day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, these guys understood something too, which is that it's okay to talk about yourself. I mean, you have achieved something, but it's how you package it. How am I positioning it? Does it have anything to do with you? I am listen, for the dealers tuning in and listening to this, I am so excited for you that you are in a position in life where you probably came from nothing and now you have a beautiful 4, 5, 6, 10, $12 million building. Mazel tov. Congratulations. Now you have to say, but how does that help the people that I'm trying to attract? What does that have to do with them? How does that make their experience any better? What is the uniqueness of that? Why should I choose you over not just over the competitor, because that's traditionally what the unique selling proposition is. Why should I choose you over the competitor? You need to actually go a step deeper.
So you're designing the website right at the unique selling proposition that is unique to that dealer.
Correct. And in a way that resonates with the market. So the whole message of the website is for the shopper, not the dealer. Right? I don't create a business card so that I can look at it. I create a business card so I can give it to somebody else, so that it's a tool for them. But this ties into something else. So it's about personalizing. How do you increase website conversions? Well, we understand how things are performing now. We've come up with our thesis. We know that we cannot just make big, aggressive, abrupt changes, or else it's even more difficult to understand what was working. Now we're at a point where we are hyper targeted to our market. We are personalizing it for our market. So that means all the messaging, all of the unique selling propositions. So we go a step deeper. Why should I choose you rather than making no choice at all? That's where you really start to discover your unique selling proposition. Who cares about you versus the Honda store next door or the Subaru store next door? I want to know why I should choose you rather than making no choice at all right now. And that opens up a whole new dialogue internally about the message you can convey on your website. So, but now using that website as an example, and I'd encourage you guys to go look at it after the broadcast here. I don't want you to miss out on how you can get this checklist for free and instant access to it. But that leads me to, hey, you don't see flashing flying around images and scrolling banners and you're going to give somebody a seizure with all the movement that we tend to put on our websites. Websites are not print ads. We need to pick very carefully what we want people to be able to do. In other words, if you want to increase conversions, you need to remove friction from their experience. How many clicks does it take to get to new, used services? How many clicks does it take to get to any of the other profit centers or promotions that you have? How many clicks does it take from them to get from your Facebook ad to a relevant landing page? Or are you lazily just dropping them off on a vehicle search results page?
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
My wife and I have been pretty well shut in during the pandemic. We order our groceries online.
Yeah.
We got two major grocery stores, Kroger and Publix. And we've been ordering from Publix, but we went to Kroger. And when we order groceries, it's usually north of $600 to $900. I mean, we're making, pretty large purchase.
Sure.
We were on the Kroger website just last week, and it was our first time really trying to make a detailed purchase on Kroger. And we got halfway through. I had about $600 loaded into their shopping cart. And my wife and I looked at each other and said, this doesn't work. This is the clunkiest, hardest to operate website we've ever dealt with. We went back to Publix and left the shopping cart at Kroger, never hit the buy button.
Sure.
And I mean, that the same thing happens. So many dealers have clunky websites that have so many clicks and such poor navigation. That's one thing I like about your websites is it's usually one-click navigation to get to your destination.
Yeah, again, you brought it up. It's the ego piece. Why are there 700 items in a drop down on my website? By the way, for everyone listening, drop downs are dying. In fact, in our world, they're already dead. We try and avoid drop down menus at all costs because if I cannot get the customer to where they want to go as quickly and efficiently as possible, then what am I doing? Why am I trying to make this more difficult for them? And this brings up something too, Jim, and maybe Kroger could benefit from this. Here's a simple thing you can do over your morning cup of coffee. You open your website to whatever page you're working on that you want to get feedback on. So maybe it's your home page, maybe it's an inventory page, maybe it's your service hub or whatever. I call it the 5-second audit. What you do is you open up that page, you ask somebody. I always ask my wife because to this day, my wife pretty much has no clue what I do for a living. And so she has no context. She's the perfect target audience. I'll open up a client website before it's about to go live, after we've met with the client and this and that. And I'll sit her down and I'll open up that page for 5 seconds and then I'll shut it. And I ask her, what do you remember?
Wow. You showed her the website for 5 seconds and then you ask her, what does she remember?
That's it. What do you remember? See, we have supercomputers here. We're processing, tons and tons of information. We are super capable.
You are you are the uber geek.
I'm such a geek. I'm such a geek. In fact, I'm a hologram. No, just kidding. But that's what I do because I want to understand where did her eyes go and what did she think was important. Now, in those 5 seconds, I'm able to effectively audit something. First impression. Did any message stand out? And where did your eyes gravitate? Oh, well, my eyes gravitated to the center of the page for used vehicles. Perfect. That's what I was hoping would happen. Or, and so now you could do this with members of your team. In fact, probably in a lot of instances, Jim, the best person to ask that probably has no context. Dear Lord, forgive me for saying this, is your dealer principal.
What?
Yeah. Open this page, put it in front of your DP or your GM for 5 seconds and ask them what they remember. And that's it. Don't make it a bigger conversation. Hey, what do you remember from the last 5 seconds? I saw where you search for a vehicle. Perfect. Thank you so much. We're going to take this back to our revenue department or our marketing department, and we're going to run with something here that I think is really going to make things explode. Well, that's exactly what I want. If you go to Integrity Subaru's website, there's one, it's very clear. There's not 77 calls to action. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but I think so many people have way too many CTAs, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Call to action. Too many things. They have to make a choice on what they want to do for. Yeah.
You drive down the freeway and you see that sign that says 180 flavors of soft serve, and you think it's a great idea until you pull up and you're now standing in front of 180 flavors of soft serve, not confident that you will make the right decision. And trust me, I walk out every single time with stinking maple walnut, regretting that my wife got something that looked a lot better. That's what happens with too many options. With too many options, you either don't make a choice at all, or you are extremely unsatisfied with the choice that you did make because you just lack the confidence. Right? And so that happens. So you go to this website, there's one thing front and center: search for inventory, where customers aren't going to go, but what do I do? What are you talking about? It's a Google-like search. You used Google to get here, and you're going to use that same exact format that you're already familiar with to find the vehicle on the website, and it's going to take you straight there. No, but what about this? And what about 0 point this and this and Jeep month and Ram month? And no, hey, we have more data than this. We know where people are coming from and how they got to the site. So give them an experience that resonates with how they got to you in the first place. So and I'm not trying to oversimplify it. It really is, when you're paying attention, that simple. Now, CTAs. I love this one. We looked at, to date, we've looked at 100,000 or more and counting leads. Okay. Specifically, web form submissions. Okay. This is a data set gathered from our own client base. Okay. So you understand, everybody, I'm giving you the exact details of this case study. I'm not giving you arbitrary. These are 100,000 leads that we looked at and counting of our own clients over the span of years, not day, not month, not the last 30-day cycle. Okay. Here's what we found, and I'll bring you into our process. We used to do the same thing as every other website vendor. 8 different calls to action: get e-price, book an appointment, trade, appraisal, payment calculator, finance, right? Everybody does that. Then we formulated a thesis. What if we observed the types of interactions that we are receiving, or the leads that are coming in, and we whittle it down to a single call to action to rule them all? Well, I just told you.
I'm trying to understand that second. A
Sure.
single call to action that
Rules all calls to
all
action.
the other calls to action.
That's right.
Okay, you're out there in the stratosphere right now. Help me out. Explain it.
Sure. So here's what we found. On my podcast, I interviewed a gentleman by the name of Ollie Gardner. Ollie Gardner is the founder and CEO of a company called Unbounce. They are the most successful company when it comes to conversions, when it comes to landing pages, when it comes to that. That is their primary focus. When I interviewed Ollie, he taught that conversions can increase nearly immediately by up to 30% by simplifying how many calls to actions there are. In other words, when there are too many options, people are actually 70% more likely to pick nothing. When there are fewer calls to action, you can see upwards of an immediate boost of 30% in lead conversion by just not giving them as many options to choose from. Okay. So we looked at this and we said, well, how do we simplify then our call to action? How do we get rid of the 8, 10, 12 calls to action? Is there a call to action that actually could represent all of the other types of inquiries? Right.
Well, tell me the answer. I want to know myself.
So the answer is, here's what we found. 99.99999% of all the leads that we observed.
Is that an accurate figure?
Well, it's right next to the the quote about stats in the what is it? 70% of all stats are made up. But no, in this case, what we found is that a high majority of all the leads, we're talking of finance leads, of vehicle specific leads, of e-price, of trade-in, of all the different types of lead forms that we think we need to have on our site. The vast majority of all of these leads were doing one thing in common: asking a question. Asking a question. So you know what our thesis was? Perhaps we could see a lift in conversions if the only prominent call to action was ask a question. And now here's the segue into the next thing I want to talk about.
Wait a minute, you got one button, and I assume it's not red. You got one button that says ask a question.
Yeah, and it's usually like a greeny teal-ish. And we've played around with red, blue, green, yellow, or like we've played around with all of them. Now, we don't say these types of things lightly. In fact, we want to be able to say with at least a 95% accuracy that the result was because of that specific outcome. Okay. So we made a switch on one dealer site. And guess what? They started to see upwards of a 200% year-over-year increase month after month in lead conversions just on web forms. Just on web forms, okay?
Say that again, please.
So we made that change on one dealer website, right? So as a partner, we approached one of our dealer partners and we said, hey, we have a thesis. And the thesis is one call to action will increase your website conversions on lead form submissions. And they said, yeah, let's try it out. So we tried it out. And well, it's still running to this day because it's so effective. But basically the outcome was that they started to see upwards of 200% increase year over year in conversions from lead forms from ask a question.
Really?
And you know what the outcome was for clients? Because guess what? For those watching, go and look at your leads. You'd be surprised at how many people are still asking generic questions about a vehicle from your contact page, not even from a VDP.
What?
And you'd be surprised at how many people are asking generic questions from VDPs that should have been asked on the contact page. It's crazy. And by the way, you see, because in our sphere, Jim, it's easy for us to think that everybody understands how to use the web. Oh, nay.
And by the way, just because the manufacturer co-ops, it doesn't mean it doesn't suck.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there are so many co-op big name websites out there that absolutely suck. And one thing I've noticed is your FlexDealer team, they all think like you do. That's scary.
Freaky bunch of freaks.
Your whole team. I mean, it's like a little army of geeks, like your little minions.
They are, you know what? And they are much better at simplifying it. I'm the nerd. I'm like the chief. I'm like Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget. I sit in my chair and I come up with all the geeky, But anyways, so we said, wow, that is amazing. Because that's what people are doing anyways. Think about it. Ask a question. Do you take trades? Ask a question. What's my trade worth? Ask a question. Do I qualify for financing? Ask a question. Do you guys have low credit financing options? Ask a question. Is this available? Ask a question. What's your best price? Ask a question. How soon can I get it? Ask a question. Are you COVID safe? Ask a question. Like everything is a question.
Exactly.
So get out of their way and let them ask a question. You see, because if you only have 8 set calls to action and they don't feel like they fit into any of those, they're not going to do anything. So you're missing business opportunities by just not simplifying. Am I running faster than I should be?
You're doing great, big guy. I mean, Yeah, we're 15 minutes. How far in? We're 40 minutes into this thing, son. I just
Holy gee, I feel like I'm
yeah,
just getting started. No, I'm kidding.
yeah. Oh, we got a lot to talk about.
And so listen, I mean, for those paying attention here, listen carefully. These are not things. I have not yet mentioned a thing that you need to rely on anybody else to do. These are all things you can do. It's your business. You come up with your vision and your message. Oh, but isn't that what I pay my vendor for? Well, that's what they will make you think you are paying them for, but like Jim just pointed out, that's where things get real muddy in the co-op game. We're finding, I would say, I don't have the exact number, but I would venture to say off the top of my head, about 50% of our client partners have foregone their co-op because they want more flexibility in how they spend their money and what they can say when they spend their money.
So most of the dealers you're doing business with, and you are not a co-op vendor, but they're opting to go with you because the results and because of the uniqueness of the custom design.
Yeah, and we're not handcuffed. I don't have anybody to answer to except them. That's why we can be on their side. That's why we can have their back. That's why we can have their best interests at heart. That's why when their market looks grim, I don't feel the need to have to sugarcoat it. I just look for the right solutions to meet the demands of the market. Shoot, the railroad, isn't coming through town anymore and 15,000 people lost their jobs. That's going to have an impact. Great. I can come up with a solution to that doesn't have anything to do with pushing manufacturer incentives down a group of people's throats that aren't going to resonate with it to begin with. We've got your back because we don't have to be a middleman. I don't have to give you controversial statement of the day. I don't have to pitch you a $4,000 a month product that I have to give 45% of it to a middleman to do nothing. So you as the dealer expect that you're getting $4,000 worth of service when you're actually only getting $2,000 worth of service because I had to give a portion of it to somebody else who doesn't jack squat for you.
Back to conversion, son. Yeah, I'm on that. I'm on the same
I'll,
soapbox.
I'll let I'll let you take that soapbox. You're better at it
Yeah.
now. So let's just recap up to this point. We've talked about getting a good understanding of how people are using your site. Go sign up for hotjar.com. I am not an affiliate of Hotjar. I've just used it myself. And so I believe in it.
Mhm.
I'm only going to bring you something I believe in. Um, then from there, you can formulate where things need to shift. Oh, nobody's clicking on these sliders. Now you don't have to believe someone like me alone. You've got the data yourself. It's your data. You're seeing it for yourself. The second thing we talked about is from there, resist the urge. Okay, stop making big abrupt changes all at once. Make small incremental changes and give yourself enough time to test them out. There's another tool that you can use for that, and it's called Optimizely, and we can throw this in the comments after the show is done here. But Optimizely has a little calculator where you can actually see how long you need to wait to run a test. Like, okay, so what, for example, you put in what your current page's conversion rate is. It's 3%. And then you put how much you want to see a lift by. So we want to see a 5% increase. It will tell you how many visitors you need to get to that page in order to have a 95% conclusivity that it worked, that it was a result of that change you made, either up or down. Okay. It could be 5% up or 5% down. But that's how you know. So guess what? Some sites in rural areas, Jim, who only get 3,000 visits a month to their website, they're going to have to wait a lot longer to get a higher guarantee of whether it worked or not. In metropolitan areas, shorter amount of time because you're getting larger amounts of traffic. Okay. Third thing is simplify your calls to action. Look at your website right now. Go to your VDPs. How many CTAs do you have on that VDP? How many things are you trying to ask people? How many round holes are you asking square pegs to fit in? Okay. And simplify them. Our own evidence from over 100,000 leads and counting is that ask a question is the CTA to kill CTAs on vehicles.
What do you mean by that?
It is the God CTA. It is the Lord snack of all CTAs. It rules them all because it's what people are doing anyways. They're asking questions. Now, some people might be shy of doing that because they feel like that CTA specifically ties to an internal process. You've been preaching for years. I've sat in countless number of your sessions. People ain't following process, CRM. So now you develop a process around ask a question. It's going to be a much more simple way to figure out what people are actually implying because you're giving them the stage to say what they want. We've talked about localizing your content so that your message resonates with your target audiences. You cannot speak to F-150 drivers or potential purchasers the same way you would speak to, Chrysler Town and Country interested shoppers. They're not the same, but that's something that we do. You will increase your conversions if you speak to people that are interested in F-150s about F-150s and the things they are interested in about F-150s, and also Town and Countries about. So what does that mean? That means you're going to have a lot more content on your website, but please, dear Lord, be the first dealer to actually answer people's questions. Use your website to get that message across.
Now, Michael, in the beginning of this broadcast, you mentioned a checklist.
Yes, absolutely. So
let's get that done before we suddenly discover we're out of time.
Sure. So here's what I want to be able to do. I've talked about 4 out of 10 things that you can get for absolutely free. No pitch, no fluff, no smoke and mirrors through our increased website conversions checklist. All you need to do to get this is visit flexdealer.com/alpha-dog. flexdealer.com/alpha-dog. And you'll get this checklist. There's a happy little message from me, but then it gets right into the meat and potatoes, okay? These are items with a little bit more context that you can just go through and start checking off. Now, what you will not find here, Jim, are the standard things that everybody has talked about, which is site speed and is your website secure? Okay, these are just items that you can do when you come in the morning over your morning cup of coffee. These are the 10 items that you can do or that you can delegate to your team to do to be able to increase website conversions. Simple as that. If you need help, I am absolutely 100% here to help with zero obligation to you. Like we talked about, the warm kumbaya. I want to help this industry move forward. I want to be a change agent that changes the narrative. Not all vendors are scummy. Not all vendors are out for their best interests. We can rise together. And this checklist is one way that you can go and do that right now. flexdealer.com/alpha-dog.
Let's see here. 1 second. Be sure.
There you go. I'm throwing it in there. Yep. flexdealer.com/. There you go. Alpha dog. Now this is also not going to add you to a mailing list. It's going to ask for your contact information, but then once you submit that, it is going to bring you right through to the next page where there will be a download button and it's going to open up in a brand new tab. So we're talking instant access. You don't have to opt into a bunch of different forms. We're going to get out of your way.
Not going to add the people to a mailing list.
No.
You're going to give them all the information, and that's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how we roll, Alpha Dog.
That's how we roll.
That's how we roll.
What else do we need to tell the people before we end this broadcast, big guy?
What we need to tell them is be patient. You can't eat an elephant at once, one bite at a time. So my encouragement to those paying attention, if you really, really are like, man, I have had enough. I finally want to do whatever it's going to actually take to increase website conversions. Give yourself time, pick your priorities, and go through the checklist one at a time. Don't run faster than you have the resources to do. But just one bite at a time. Let it bear fruit. It is going to be something that will pay you back dividends for years and years and years to come.
Absolutely. This has been a really great visit. You and I don't get together nearly enough. And that's flexdealer.com. And if you want the checklist, it's flexdealer.com/alpha-dog, DAWG. Now, come on, folks. Yeah, Georgia Bulldogs. Okay. My friend Michael Cirillo, the CEO of FlexDealer. Guess what else? He also does the Dealer Playbook, which is his podcast. Look it up, Dealer Playbook. Michael Cirillo, Cirillo.
Hey,
Um,
there you go.
yeah, he's a Canadian, eh?
Hey, I've told you this before. The only time I say A is when I recite the alphabet.
Oh, well, you and I get along great. We got similar hairstyles, just anytime I can hook up with you, I learn something. And thank you very much for being on the broadcast with me.
Thanks so much for the invitation. I love